So as you can see here, when I click on play, all of the weapons are floating. So if I go over, actually they are on the terrorist side. So if I click on play and select terrorist, you can see that all of the weapons are floating around. And we want them to fall on the ground instead of having them to float like this. So we need to enable physics. So if we go back to the blueprint, and before I do that, I'm actually going to reduce the amount of players that I spawn as and play as lesson server. Okay, so let's go to the weapons, open up the weapon base, and inside of here, if you click on the weapon, you can see something called simulate physics here under physics, simulate physics. However, for some reason, I can't select it and I have no idea why. But what you can do is just delete those events for now. And in the begin play, let's do it here. So let's take the weapon and let's drag from here. And if you just write the same name as what you can see here, so if you click on weapon, it's called simulate physics. So if you drag from here and just write simulate, and you can see it's this one called set simulate physics. And if you just select it here and connect it and just set it to true so it simulates physics and go ahead and compile. Now it doesn't work still because the collision is wrong. So if you click on weapon and you go down to the collision, you can see it's called it has no collision. So if you click on play right now and select the terrorist, you can see they are not falling down still. They're still flying on the air. So let's close it. And for the collision, let's change it to custom. And for now, I'm just going to click on ignore. So the collision is going to ignore everything for now. And I'm going here for the no collision. Go ahead and select physics only. So we just want physics. What query means, it means that if we can interact with the weapon or not. And we don't really need that because our collision sphere is actually a query only. This is like we are colliding here. We're doing some action with this collision sphere. So this is a collision, and you can interact with it without having physics. But for the weapon, I don't want that because we already have the collision sphere. So for this one, we just want the physics enabled, and then I'm going to ignore everything. However, you have to block the world static and world dynamic because it is the floor. Now, if you ignore everything, you can see if I click on play now and select the terrorist, the weapons are gone. And this is because you haven't blocked the ground. They're falling through the ground. So we have to block the ground and block so the world static and dynamic. Go ahead and compile and click on play and select terrorist again. I'm actually going to take all of those and just have them here instead, like that. Just have them in the middle so I can actually see them faster. So if I click on play, go to terrorist, you can see they're now being blocked by the ground and they're falling on the ground. Okay, so now you can also see if I walk into them as the terrorist or as the pawn, nothing is really happening, and this is because I am not colliding with them. Now, if you want the pawn to collide with them, I'm not going to do it inside of this project. However, if you want that, you can also select that your pawn that you're controlling will also block them. And that means you can now interact with them as the pawn, so you can walk into them and the collision is working as well. So you can do that as well if you wish to. However, for this project, I'm not really going to do that. So I'm going to ignore this for now. So now we have physics enabled and we are simulating physics for all of the weapons. So let's go ahead and compile and save everything and let us move on.